Hey there, Ryan Kingsline here with our art chat to really dive in and understand the psychology, the performance, the ways in which we can enhance our creativity and our ability to develop our craft and really the soul of our work. A lot of words, right? But I've been devoted to this for the last 5+ years, even longer than that, but really the last 5+ years where I've been really focused on what moves the needle for us as creatives, as creators, because this is a field that very few people explore. They all explore the brain, they all explore performance in sports. But how do we as creatives make the most out of our life, out of our abilities, out of our unique selves, out of the things that make us, that really just make us different than other people, right? That's the thing that really I'm interested in moving the needle on, is helping you understand who you are and how to work with who you are. So today what I want to talk about is one of those things that happens to me all the time, this question that happens to me all the time. It comes up in classes I teach, comes up with the people I mentor, it comes up with the people I see, which is how do you show your work, right? And it comes up for students, it comes up in the gallery in which my wife owns, with fine art, it comes up with professionals that are moving careers or transitioning. How do I show my work? And one of the kind of subtext to this is, what should I show? Because most people have a ton of work, right? So there's a couple of these sub-questions to it. So what do I show? Do I show everything? Do I show only the best? Do I show things that relate to these guys? So let's say, for example, somebody who wants to become a game artist. All right. Do I show anatomy and drawings and sculptures, the characters, and then, do I show maybe some matte paintings and some of the other things that I did in classes, right? Or let's say somebody here in the gallery. Do I bring all of my work in here and do I show them, let's say I'm going to go to a gallery that specializes in, let's say, abstract. Do I show them the figurative stuff that I did? Do I bring drawings? What do I bring, right? And the one answer that exists across the entire board here can be answered, the one question really that exists here can be answered in a different field, all right? And I'll say it like this because I think this is going to kind of move the needle the most in terms of your understanding. So really the dilemma, the question is, or the fact, let's put it that way, is nobody falls in love with 5 people at once. Right? That's not called love. That's called keeping your Fridays busy. That means that the people that you've met haven't gone deep enough in your soul to where that's the one. That's the one that you're committed to. Now, I'm fortunate my wife and I met and we were married a month later. I knew that she was the one. She wasn't the first one, right? She was the one. Because it just went right to the core. But before we got married, this is a little bit of a strange topic, so you'll have to excuse me here. Before we got married, the day we got married, I never saw so many beautiful women. I'm just sitting at a cafe and there was a beautiful woman, and there was a beautiful woman, and there was a beautiful woman, and there was a beautiful woman crossing my path. And I was like, oh my God, where have they been? My entire life. And of course the answer is they've been right freaking there. But because I'm about to become married, the reticular activating system of my brain is just going crazy on all this stuff, and it's playing a mental game with me. And at the heart of this was the one thing that was true, which is my love for my wife, which was there, instant. It was there, even though there's beautiful woman crossing my path, right? I knew that was the one thing, and that I was committed to, right? So again, somebody doesn't fall in love with 5 people. You fall in love with one. And this message is important for us as creatives because part of our job and what we want is we want people to fall in love with our work. So a lot of times the answer that I see people giving themselves is, let me just show you everything so that hopefully you're going to fall in love with one of these things, right? That shotgun approach isn't going to work. It's not going to work. You got to do your homework. You got to know who you're talking to. You got to prepare for this conversation, and you got to orchestrate this so that the chances of finding the right person who's going to like your work, love your work, is greater. Of course, you can put everything in your portfolio and you can give it to 100 different studios of different galleries of different people, and eventually somebody might start to like it. But you got to start thinking about this like a business person. Your conversion rate's going to be crap. You're going to have the shittiest conversion rate on the planet because basically what you did is you told 100 people you don't give a fuck about them and who they are. And they need to give a fuck about who you are. But you don't have to return that favor at all. That's not how a relationship's going to start. You got to tell the person on the other end of what you're showing that you care who they are, that you care about what their goals are, what their needs are, so that you can start to build that relationship with them. You got to build that relationship because that's what it is. It's a connection. You don't create a product, you don't launch a product, you don't launch an app, you don't create a painting and put it out there for everybody without an audience that you want to fall in love with it. If you don't have the raving fans that they talk about, you're not going to be in business. As an artist, as a businessman, as a coder, as a creative, you need those raving fans, either in your organization, or in the clients that you work with, or in the people that you are approaching to share your artwork with. So much of what we do as artists is about building these raving fans, people who love our work. But you gotta set the frame for that to happen. How do you show your work? Of course, show your best work. Not just your best work, show the best work that's targeted to connect with this person. You could be wrong, but you have to try. So for example, in game arts, do I show all my anatomy studies and my drawings and all? No. If somebody's applying for let's say a character artist position, there's 800 other people who have already applied to that position. Who are you applying to? What game studio? EA Sports, Blizzard? Are you going to Activision, Treyarch? Are you looking to be working, creating soldiers or orcs or any of the myriad of different things that are there? Know who you're talking to, tailor it for that team, and make sure that, let's say for example, you want to work at Overwatch. Now for some people they won't know what the heck the games are, right? You might be a coder watching this. If you want to work on Overwatch at Blizzard, you don't send them a whole bunch of detailed stuff that you might put in World of Warcraft or StarCraft, for example. You would just put the stuff that relates to Overwatch. Simplified characters, the simplified sense of anatomy. In the face, you wouldn't put the nasolabial folds. You just kind of smooth that out because that's too much detail. Know who you're talking to. Present it for that person. You do that, and you do that often enough, you do that well enough, the chances of you catching their eye are significantly greater. Getting the job is one thing, but you can't get the job if you haven't caught their eye. And that's the first thing. You need to make yourself hireable to that person. Then there's a whole other thing that starts to happen over here. Make yourself hireable to these people. Connect with these people that you are trying to get a response from. And I see this way too often in my students. You can see it in graphic design students, you can see it in game art students, you can see it illustration. The people are not tailoring or taking the time to tailor their portfolio to the person that they're talking to. I know it's hard. Imagine architecture, right? It takes so long to create these projects and there's so many architects out there. It's hard to tailor these for one individual person. I understand that. But that's why you have to start thinking now about who you want to work for. Who's your ideal company that you would like to work for? You got to start thinking now about what's your ideal client. Start thinking about the business of what you're doing while you're also dealing with the craft. I know it's hard because the visionary in you just wants to work, and then there's this realist that Ryan's asking to bring into the equation, and this realist is freaking annoying because the realist is the one that's like, okay, this is the manager. This is the one who's like, okay, you got to pay the bills, you got to do this, you need that job, and there's going to be this tug of war between these two guys, the visionary, the manager inside you, and then there's going to be this asshole, the critic, that's going to come in and say, it all sucks. But these are the three parts of every artist, creative creator. The visionary, the manager, and the critic. Somebody needs to come up with cool stuff, and they just need to be unhinged. They need to break rules. Somebody needs to understand those rules and navigate those rules. Somebody needs to go in there and moderate the whole significance of this entire equation. Is it important? Is it not important? Is this a worthy project? Is this going to get us attention? Is this going to build the raving fans that we want to have in our life? You got to start thinking about your life as a creative, as a creator, with these three components built in. And I know it is not easy. And I know that these guys fight. These parts of us are in conflict. But life is conflict. It's filled with conflict. And this is how you build power, is by having these different viewpoints inside you that are able to interact with the world in more powerful ways than one part. If the only thing you are is a visionary, somebody else is going to make money off you. Somebody else is going to be that manager, right? Which might be what's necessary. But if you can integrate that, it's a different life for you. Do you want the critic to be the only one who's on the outside, or do you want your critic to be this asshole inner critic? Or do you want to get him on your side and learn how to bring that inner critic to something really powerful inside you that helps guide your decisions, not as a critic, but now as a mentor? So the inner critic in us is really this unhealthy version of a mentor. It's such a common misunderstanding. It's one of the things I've devoted my life to, is just understanding that this whole idea, everybody knows the idea of an inner critic, but they don't realize that the inner critic is an inner mentor that we've ignored, or that somehow or another we've just turned into a massive asshole whose only job is to tell us when we screw up. Imagine what can happen if you take that power of criticism and you start to turn that into somebody who actually helps us see where we've gone astray and guide us into the right path. Imagine the power that you'd have in your creative capacity. It'd be amazing, right? So let's get ourselves back to this question of how do I show my work? Show your work with the objective of making somebody fall in love. How do you make somebody fall in love? Frame it so that love is possible, that connection is possible. What do they need? What do they want? What are the problems that they have? How can you solve those problems? How can your work be the one solution to all of their problems? You find that out, and that is what you show in your work. That is what you show people. That is what it's all about. And that's really important to understand because it's a shift. There's two different mindsets here. One mindset is I need to show them who I am. Okay? That's not going to work. Not today, not when everybody's showing who I am, who I am, who I am, who I am. People don't care anymore. You're watching this video, and I love that you're watching this video, and it's super important to me that you watch this video because I have this message I want to share with you. I want to help change your perspective. I want to help change the world's understanding of creativity. But you don't really give that much of a shit about me, right? We would meet, you'd say, thank you, or you'd say you're a jerk, whatever. But you have important things in your life, very important things in your life that are very important to you. And that's the way everybody is. The people looking at your work, they got important stuff going on. So what you have to do is what I'm doing here in this video. I am positioning myself and I am offering something of value to you so that there's a real connection here, so that I actually do help you, and through helping you, build the rapport and start to cultivate that raving fan, somebody who will actually listen to an entire video or 5 or more than 2 minutes or more than 30 seconds of a video, right? Or a message. So that we can build this community, right? And get this message out. You want to get your message out. Show the work that's going to connect to that person, that organization, those people. It's going to solve their problem. If it doesn't solve their problem, it's all about you. If it solves their problem, it shifts. It's about them. And that's the goal. Right? That's how you make somebody fall in love with you. You don't make somebody fall in love with you by talking about yourself all the time through dinner. You make them fall in love with you by being of value to them, being important, being there for them, giving them the sense that you are there. That you will move the needle in their life. That's your job, man. It's so important too, because again, as artists, we think the goal is to show who we are. But really the goal is to show how we can be useful to other people, how we can add value to their lives. And in adding value to their lives, build the bridge and the connection so that our work grows, their understanding grows, and we get that job, we sell that piece of work, we get that relationship with the gallery, whatever it is. They buy our app, they join our email campaign so that we can start to market to them and present new opportunities to them. Whatever it is, find a way to be valuable to them. And that starts with knowing who you're talking to, putting a frame around who you're talking to by knowing what is it that they need, what is the kind of problems that they experience, what are the things that they're looking for, right? These are the boxes. What can you do that is going to give them more power, more capacity? All right, I rambled on long enough. You know what to do. Make sure that when you are thinking about and presenting your work, know who you're talking to and make that felt in the exchange. All right? Hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something valuable out of this. I'll talk to you later.